But that was the little thing that came up on the screen.
Hey everyone, Alex here. Welcome to our Tuesday live stream. I think Linda is currently working to get on the live stream, so thank you for your patience. But my name is Alex, and I'm with the Sewing Workshop, and I would like to know if we have any brand new watchers this morning or this afternoon, or whatever time zone you're on. So if this is your first time or one of your first times watching our Tuesday live streams, we've been doing this for going on 6 years this year. And so we've been pretty faithful. I think it's like I can count on less than one hand how many we've missed in the last almost 6 years. So if you're new to watching, just in the chat, you can watch us on Facebook or YouTube. So maybe you're watching on one of those. Tell us where you heard about it and how you started watching. I know there are a few of you that, probably a lot of you, I don't know, that you guys say that you watch kind of quietly in your offices, you watch on your lunch breaks. So however you are watching today, thank you so much for joining us and being faithful to joining us almost every Tuesday. But we always love new months at the Sewing Workshop, so we always have to shout out what's new, what's happening, especially with Sew Confident. So we want to mention, of course, that we have a new month with Sew Confident. So what's a little bit different about this year is that you can actually join any month. So it is February. If you didn't join our initial promotions in December or January, you can still join, especially if you were a previous Sew Confident member in 2025, you can still get access to the 10% discount code that we gave you guys as part of the promotion. So check your 2025 December course pages. It has a special discount code for you to receive 10% off the Elite price, which is the total price for Elite membership is $395 for 12 months. You're just billed annually. It recurs every year, and you get 10% off that price. So whatever $395 minus $39.50 is. So join as an Elite member. You can also join as a Savvy member, which is only $35 a month. So you can always try out a few months. This month is all about the urban shirt. So many of you probably have the urban t-shirt and pant pattern. It is a vault pattern that was discontinued, and we haven't had it around for a while. So we brought it back as a digital pattern, but it's only available to Sew Confident members this year. We're not releasing it to the public for quite some time. So if you want access to the urban t-shirt this month, it's all about taking the urban t-shirt and making it into a variation as a cowl. So if you want to join this month, then head on over to sewconfident.sewingworkshop.com, and you can see that this month's pattern is all about the urban t-shirt. Linda has one in the studio. This is not the original urban t-shirt. As I mentioned, this is a variation. So we've always really enjoyed taking our patterns and making them into fun variations. And so we've done that here with the urban. We've made it into this color blocked option. We've been selling our kits like crazy. So if you're a Sew Confident member, you can shop our special kits for you for this project. Here it is in one of our kits, but we have other more tonal kits available. So shop the kits at sewingworkshop.com. And we take the urban t-shirt and we add a cowl to the neck binding. And we also are making the long sleeve version and a simple color blocked front and back option. So this is the free pattern that you get when you join this month. And again, this is only for Sew Confident members, specifically Savvy and Elite. So you can kind of see some of the pattern details. But Linda and our team have always talked about the urban as a great basic t-shirt. It's slim fitting. It's a more fitted t-shirt, a great basic staple. And so here it is with a different take. So join So Confident. You get this pattern. It's exclusive to Savvy and Elite members, and you will learn how to take the urban t-shirt and create the pattern work to make this variation. The live project launch is actually this Friday. So if you join, and if you're a So Confident member, you will see in your course page that the Zoom is this Friday in the afternoon. We have Zoom Q&As each month. We have lots of things going on each month for our So Confident members. So that's a little bit about this month. And I think Linda has both the original and a version of an original and the cowl. So Linda, would you like to show those off?
Sure. Well, this is the one that you've been seeing, which is the color blocked with the cowl. Here is the original. Unfortunately, I have it in black, so it's a little hard to see, but the original has what I call a flange. It's a loose drape, well, triangle really. And let's see, so that makes the neck binding completely over the drape. It has a pocket, which we're not doing in the new variation. This is a long sleeve one, obviously, and there's no seam down the back at this point. So what you're going to learn is how to measure for a neck binding, how to find the center front on this, because it's not right here, which you might think. It's over here. So we'll teach you that. So those are the two urban tops.
Awesome. Well, we always look forward to new months. But today is all about the shirt you're wearing and one of our favorite patterns called the Liberty. The Liberty. I got a little confused today when I was looking at the sale because it's the Liberty in the London, and we love Liberty London, the store, the fabric, everything. So
that's right. It's interesting. Well, I have the garment behind me that I actually made in the Craftsy class. So if you're interested in a full-blown, I don't know how many lessons, 9 or 10 lessons of how to sew on silk, then the Liberty shirt, in the old days when Craftsy was owned by Craftsy, then pardon me, I got distracted for just one little second. When Craftsy owned Craftsy and you signed up for Sewing with Silks, you got a free Liberty pattern from us. But I believe that since Craftsy's been sold, I don't believe that happens anymore. But the Liberty shirt is still available. And if you're one of the first, however many there were, we sent out a lot of patterns. So I think there were a lot of people who signed up for that class. You have the pattern. But the class is useful for whatever pattern you want to use in learning about how to sew with silk. Now, I cheated just a little bit with this garment. Yes, this garment is silk. It's silk shantung. Silk shantung is actually pretty easy to sew. And I didn't want to have to work with like silk charmeuse or the real wiggly, slippery silks on camera. I wanted to have a little more control, so I used this silk. So a lot of people made this in Dupioni, which I thought was really pretty, which is also an easy silk to work with, but something to get used to if you're not familiar with silk. So the features of the Liberty are, it has kind of a Peter Pan collar. I wear it up like this, but you can wear it down or even open like this. A lot of people do that. Buttons down the front. But the interesting feature to me is that the side seam is coming forward. And then the back is longer than the front. Deep hems, so the top stitching is pretty far away from the edge. The back piece goes clear around and connects to that seam in the front. Now there are top stitching lines here. A lot of people look at this pattern and think it's a princess line, but it's not. This is a top stitching feature, which you can do or not do, but I've always done it because I like it. So that is the Liberty. Now I'm going to show you some other Liberties. And you can tell that we've played with it quite a bit. When I went to the vault to get a couple of Liberties yesterday, I was blown away by how many we've made. There's probably 30 Liberties. It was one of our favorite patterns when it first came out. And I haven't made it for a while, but you know, it's a fantastic pattern. It feels so good. And this one is a silk, what is this? This is like a silk shantung as well. And I noticed today that it's very cool. So people think you can't wear silk in the summer, but I think you can because this feels cool. Now it's cold outside here, but I don't think that has anything to do with the way this feels. I think this just is the nature of the fabric. So don't be afraid of silk, particularly the dupiones, the shantungs, the raw silks, the habitais, and those kinds of silks, because they're easy to sew. But we're not going to really talk about silk today. We're going to talk about the Liberty. Okay. I like it as a jacket. And of course, that depends on the fabrication. Here it is in a heavier tweed fabric. So you can wear this as a jacket or you can wear it as a shirt. And I have a piece of fabric on the wall that I think would make a great jacket. Kathy Davis did her magic, of course, with a pieced one. These are kimono pieces. And she made the fabric first. I'm sure generally thinking about what she was going to do, but not really placing this fabric here and this fabric here and this size. She made the fabric first. Now she had one piece of kimono fabric for the back that's pretty spectacular. This is a seam here, and this is a seam here. Kimono pieces are 14 or 16 inches wide. I can't remember for some reason, but they're narrow. And so that was used as the center panel in the back. But of course, she has a very strong sense of design and what works with other fabrics. You're looking for things of a similar weight. They don't have to be exactly the same weight. But if you have something that's very sheer or lightweight, tissue weight, you might want to underline it with maybe Bemberg or China silk or even a fusible interfacing, which she's done on a couple of other pieces. But all of these tend to be the same weight. This is a very reminiscent piece for me. I had a friend named Bibi, who's no longer with us, unfortunately. But she and a woman named Karna live in central Kansas. And a couple times a year, I would go to central Kansas and I would sit and sew with them all night and all day for 2 or 3 days. And they were expert embroiderers, machine embroiderers, both of them. Karna's the best digitizer I've ever known, and Bibi could sew them out like a dream. So what I did here, this is a linen piece, and I just took the inner structure pieces, the front facings, the back facing, and I turned all the hems and the facings and all of those elements to the outside. So sometimes when you want to do something decorative, but you really can't come up with anything, take a look at some of those other pieces, cuffs, collars, facings, pockets. And it might be that those are things that you can put on the outside rather than the inside. So I used some silk charmeuse, which happened to be a Pucci fabric, for some flat piping that separated the facing on the outside to the garment. So this would have been the top stitching line that I talked to you about. Now the embroidery design is my design, and I did it for OESD, which is now Bernina. And I called it Rugs to Riches. It is still available, amazingly enough. And I think it's really beautiful. I simply borrowed some floral elements and some other Asian type elements as inspiration for the design. So if you're interested in this design, you can go to your Bernina dealer and they will have it. Rugs to Riches. Put a center panel down the back, which of course is not a separate piece for the Liberty, but so I just applied that separate piece. So all of these pieces we were able to embroider separately without putting them on the garment yet. But the basic garment is linen. One of my favorite necklines in all of our collection is the Mix-It neckline. I like the V, I like the little collar, so to speak, but I've left that off and I've used it. It doesn't really matter. But I like this little jog right here. It's an interesting little, tiny little detail, but I like it. So I borrowed this neckline and superimposed it on the Liberty. Getting squared up here a little bit. So this is the Mix-It neckline. It even has this little jog in it right here. No collar. So I had to reshape the front facing to connect to the facing that was in the Liberty, but that's not a particularly big deal. I just wanted to make sure it was the same width when it connected to the back facing that already exists. Now, the other thing I did with this is the front of this and the sleeves are silk charmeuse. They're from Burberry. The fabric's from Burberry. But the back I did in a knit. And this is that waffle knit that has this great texture. And you can see that it comes around to the front. So it really shows off how the back connects to the front. It's a very flattering line. When you bring the side seams in, taper them in, you look slimmer. I got this idea. I was on a Kansas State trip to Italy, and I walked into a Ritz-Carlton. I didn't stay there. And they had a shop in there that had all white linen clothes. And they had white silk fronts, just a plain shirt, and a white kind of gauzy knit in the back. I thought that was a very cool idea. The shirt was only a couple $1,000s. Should have bought it, didn't do it. Came home and made my own variation. So, but this is the Liberty that might feel a little better for summer, perhaps. Spring, summer, fall, maybe not dead of winter. Doesn't, I don't know. I tend to wear things a little closer to my neck in the wintertime. That's just me. Thanks to Samantha, the Liberty can become this fabulous dress. There you see the hemline, longer in the back, shorter in the front, and the seam comes forward. She's changed the collar. She does that a lot. And I think this is really nice. You know, she lives in a very warmer, more humid climate. So she loves dresses and she loves more open necklines and she loves to change collars and make them a lot bigger. Because you see that on designer clothes. Shorten the sleeve with a cuff or without. This is a nice lightweight cotton, short weight cotton. I love the print on it. So that's the dress from Samantha. I made her FedEx it to me. So, but she's always good at doing that. A minute, I thought there was a pocket, but there's not. The Liberty shirt also makes a really good t-shirt. This is a cotton knit. So all the cool parts are there, you know, that jagged hem, long sleeve. Used the original neckline, just didn't put the collar on. And I did some hand stitching just to kind of embellish it a little bit. Just a straight sashiko stitch, running stitch, and then a different stitch at the neckline. And you can do the same thing with a cowl. This is a ponte knit, so it can get a little heavier. So you measure the neckline, do our little 7/8 magic ratio for neck bindings, and then make it wider. So a more wintry version. Now we get a lot of questions about what is the difference between the Liberty and the London? So the London is a much more generous shirt. The only similarity really is the hemline. The collar is different. It's more of a regular collar, rectangular collar. And the shoulder is really dropped. I mean, it's dropped to, you know, around in here, unlike the Liberty, which is at the shoulder. Although I do have to say that a lot of people do still narrow the shoulder 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch on the Liberty. But the London has the drop sleeve. Shorter sleeve, rolled up, doesn't really stay in this particular rayon fabric, but I love the drape of this fabric. Very slimming. Here it is in linen. So think of the Liberty as a more fitted shirt through the shoulders and the bust, sleeves, and think of the London as an oversized shirt. I want to show you a couple of techniques that might be useful because of the interesting shapes. We're going to shorten this Liberty. You want to start with the front. It's going to be hard for you to see, isn't it? Let's see here. I'm going to talk you through this. All right, there are lengthen and shorten lines on this garment, on this pattern, and they happen to be right here. So I decided to make a 3/4 inch fold here, which takes out 1.5 inches. This is the same place if you were lengthening. You would split it, spread it, put some paper in there, and tape it all together. But I've made sure that I've kept this straight of grain line absolutely perfect. So what happens is there's a jog here. I just picked an extra small because it was on the very edge of things. So I want to connect from the extra small to the extra small, but right here where you've shortened it, there's no this line is offset. The extra small gets shifted. So I want to make that a smooth transition. My go-to ruler is a hip curve, which is this. If you don't own one of these, you should. In the old days, I used to own metal ones. But then they came out with the plastic ones, and they're so much better because you can see what you're doing. So the metal ones are long gone. So I'm going to take this from the extra small, and right through there, I'm just transitioning this. So I'm over the extra small line here, and I'm back on it a little bit here, but it's definitely not in line with the top. So I can get that pretty smooth there. Then I'm going to shift this, straighten it out, because the pattern originally is straightened out through here. I'm going to straighten it out there. Now, the important points to remember are the point under the armscye and this, which is where this hem jog happens. So this is a very important dot. And I'm going to measure that between the dots. And that is 11 inches from dot to dot. And I'm going to remember that. Now we'll get the back up here. You can see it's a very unusual piece. Okay, let's see. Okay. The seaming under the arm of this garment is very unusual because the dot, which is usually 5/8 of an inch from both edges, is now shifted over and it matches the sleeve seam. So the sleeve seam and the side seam do not match. They're off by about an inch. So don't try to match them up because then that'll really mess you up. All right, I've done my same lengthen and shorten here of 3/4 of an inch. No, I have not either. Yes, oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay. Sorry, I had to remember what I did. So I made myself that dot 5/8 of an inch from both edges. And I identified the dot down here that belongs to this extra small. And before I did this, I measured that dot to dot. The front was 11 inches. The back was 12 1/4. So there was an 1.5 inch difference between the front and the back. So instead of folding out 3/4 of an inch here, I folded out 5/8. I hope that makes sense. But I want to be able to match dot to dot from the front to the back. And this is just all kind of geometry. This is a different shape. It happens on the origami skirt. That's where I first kind of learned this concept that certain things have to match and the lengthening and shortening may vary a little bit, sometimes a lot, not so much on this garment. So then I identified which lines were actually the vent opening, which is an interesting shape, goes like this dot. So I drew a line from this dot to this dot, 5/8 of an inch away from that, connecting to this shape at the vent opening. And that's my new cutting line. Again, with this ruler, the hip curve. And there it is. Now, one thing you can do, which I've done, is before I do anything, I can trace that curve. And I've done that on like the Frankie and some other patterns where the curve is really dramatic. And I could have, instead of using the hip curve, I could have traced that line again to make sure that it's similar to the way the pattern was designed. Okay, Alex, do we have any questions about that?
Can you go through the process with lengthening it to make a dress?
I can. Let's see. I might have to get some paper. You know, unless there are a lot of people who want to know that, it's the same thing. This gets jogged right here and it's smoothing it out. It's the same process, really. But I'm thinking maybe you should email me, linda@sewingworkshop.com, and let me draw it for you. Because I need tape, I need paper. Would that be all right?
Sounds good.
Okay. But it's absolutely the same process. It's just a different jog, a longer line, but it's still connecting from the extra small to the extra small or whatever size you're using.
No other questions about shortening or lengthening?
Okay, great. All right, so then we had a customer want to know how to make the garment bigger in the hips, going from I can't remember, large to an extra large or an XXL. Yeah, XXL. There was no lengthening or shortening. I'm going to sneeze. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's not fun to hear on camera, is it? Start with the front again. I usually sneeze in threes, so it might happen again. All right. So using this same hip curve, we've drawn a line on the front from the large to the XXL. And we're using the dot for the XXL because that is the length and the ultimate here. So that is pretty standard. There you go. Now the back is trickier. Okay. Now, I need to move this over so you can really see that edge. Okay. This is interesting. Erin did this for the customer, and this has been shortened. The front was not shortened, which I think should have been. But now we're overlapping, so we have this jog. Hopefully you can see that pretty well now. So she not only has shortening, but she wants to go from a large to an XXL over here. So all right, so the blue line is the new line. So that has been traced out here. And that is your new line going from the dot to the dot. I think until you get into this, you may not completely understand it. But that is the new line connecting to the XXL. Okay, that's it. Seems easy, doesn't it? But you just have to identify top and bottom. Erin traced the original curve on this and used it, and I think it looks really good. Okay. All right, any questions yet?
No.
Okay. I either explained it really badly or pretty good. You never know. Well, let's talk about fabric. I've got some really pretty fabrics up here, I think, and some good combinations. So this is a cotton. It feels very much like a Liberty. Is it a Liberty? Yes, it is a Liberty. No wonder it feels like a Liberty. So this is a beautiful Tana-Lawn cotton, you know, that perfect shirt weight fabric. And then this is the waffle. Remember I showed you the back of that garment that had the Burberry fabric in the front, the waffle in the back? This is the waffle. So you could use the waffle with any of these, the Liberty or this, which is an Italian fabric, little poly blend, a little heavier weight, has kind of a satin feel to it. But I love that. This reminds me, I wish I could think of the name of it, but Samantha, when I visited her one time, she had a party for a bunch of her friends where we made swirly pictures using paint, and it reminds me of that. I think that'd be a fantastic combination. Even if you made pants out of this and a Liberty out of that. This is the viscose linen, which we love so much. And of course, that makes a beautiful shirt. It looks like the shantung that I've used for a couple of garments, but it can also be pants as well. This is new to us. Betsy can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it comes from Australia. And I just love how fresh it is with the colors. There's not a color in there that you can't pull out and wear as a secondary piece if you're wearing it as a jacket. You know, you can always take any of these lightweight cottons and underline them or line them and turn them into jackets, even though they may not feel quite right as a jacket weight from the very beginning. I'm pretty crazy about this one. This is a real unique piece. Also cotton, not a Liberty. Feels like a Liberty. All cotton. Isn't that gorgeous, though? There's a lot going on there. It's the kind of piece you just sew up. You don't think about it very much when you're cutting it out, unless, you know, you want more red than the beige or something like that. So if you're ordering this fabric, you know, order an extra half a yard just to be able to shift it just a little bit. This is the one that I was talking about that would be the perfect jacket weight. This is a cotton tweed that has this fuchsia red stripe. And believe it or not, that's a dark blue stripe and an olive stripe in there. It's really, but from a distance, it looks like black. This is fun. I ordered this for Samantha. I don't know if she's used it yet. Maybe she has. I feel like I've seen it. But it's more of a satin poly. It's similar to this in weight, but it has a charmeuse type finish on it. Here's a knit, a red and white striped knit, more of a fuchsia, that could go with any of these as the back or a t-shirt trim bindings, cuffs, collars, whatever. If you ever, I don't know, I just keep stripes around in all colors. They're just useful for anything. And this is more like it kind of looks and feels like a piqué. It's not a piqué, but it feels like it because it has a strié stripe texture. It's all cotton, black and orange and brown and beige. And I think these two are cool together. So these two are fun together. So those are our fabrics. I also have a couple from my stash I want to show. Don't let me forget that. So any questions about fabrics?
No questions about fabrics, but a couple more questions about the Liberty. What collar did Samantha use on the Liberty dress?
I can't tell you specifically. It wouldn't be from one of our patterns, I know that. But she has a collection of collars and pockets. And she keeps them, the templates for them, all kind of pinned up on her bulletin board. So we'd have to ask her. Samantha, are you on the call? Probably not. I can find out, but I know it's not from one of our patterns. That I know. She's probably made it up herself.
Can you also hold up the front of the pattern again to show the dots for the Liberty?
Sure. We'll find the piece here. There we go. Okay, the dot that's under the arm to the dot that's nearer the hem.
Is the shortening and lengthening the same process for the London?
Yes, absolutely the same.
And Samantha did say it's from her own collection. She created it.
Yeah. She loves to change the collars, and I think it really makes garments unique. Some are very large, some smaller, but different shapes. It just depends on the mood she's in, I think. But she does study high designers, and I'm sure well, I'm not sure, but I bet that she saw something on a Dior dress or whatever, and probably just kind of looked at it and drew it, and there it was.
Okay, a question about the Liberty. When you grade the seams on the front facing, is it the garment or the facing that is cut narrower?
When you're grading the seam in the front is not a graded seam. So your facing doesn't really change no matter what size. Like on the garment that went from the large to the XXL, the facing didn't change. Does that answer the question? But you can see that center front is the same for every size. It's only graded at the bottom and the top. So the facing is the same.
So if the front is 11 inches and the back is 12 and a fourth, what was the method to match them? Ease in or?
I would deduct 1.25 inches from the back. That means I'm going to shorten it 1.25 inches. So to fold it, I folded it 5/8 of an inch, 2 5/8 that equal 1.25 inches.
Can you please hold up the lower right fabric that's not the Liberty fabric?
This one? Isn't that gorgeous?
This is called the Lucky Peony.
Mm-hmm.
It is 100% cotton. So, do I understand in grading between sizes that the length between the two dots on the front and back must remain the same length?
They
And
need to be. They need to be very same length. That's what creates this is the dot where those come together. So it's very important that that's marked correctly and that this seam from under the arm there, that both of those are the same, the front and the back are the same. So you have to adjust because of the one is here and one is here, you have to adjust how much you lengthen or shorten so they match. In this case, it was very minor. It was like an eighth of an inch or something, a quarter of an inch. It was a quarter of an inch. It could be 2 inches. It's just a matter, just which garment it is makes a difference. But that is the dot.
I think there's a question about that fabric you held up. Is it a blue red? I think I would say so.
You know, there are 2 reds in here. I'd say there's a blue red, and some of the flowers are a little bit more orange, but the background, I guess I'll call it background, is red, blue red. But as you can see, there's some orange, cool red within the print. There's purple, there's lavender, green, this kind of khaki color, white.
Yeah, it would be a great Valentine's Day fabric, someone said.
I was thinking about that this morning, that the red up here is kind of February.
Love it. I don't see any more questions, so I can share my screen.
Hold on a minute. Let me show my stash. And what's your screen? Should that go before the stash?
No.
Okay. All right. I have 2 pieces. One that is, I love fabrics that have writing and etchings and that kind of thing on them. This is a yard piece, but obviously I have used it for binding because you can see the diagonal cut. So this is a yard minus that triangle. So it's $5. And this is an eyelet. Now, eyelet is really big this year. When we got samples for spring and saw reps, we could have had a whole store of eyelet, but not black, white. So this is a black eyelet, which I really love. It's all cotton. There's the design of it, petals. And this is a 1.75 yards, so I'm asking $20 for this. So just email me if you're interested. And first person whose email I get, yours. Okay, now you can share your screen.
All right. I was just going to show the sale. So this is the Liberty Adjustment sale, and you guys can shop the Liberty patterns, both print or digital. The London, which is print and digital. We have a tutorial called Anatomy of a Sleeve that's on sale this week. And also another one, the Liberty Mix It Fusion. Linda showed that sample of taking the Mix It neckline and Mix It shirt neckline and putting it on the Liberty. So that's a great resource to be able to transpose that and use that as a pattern variation for the Liberty. And then followed by that are all of the fabrics, and the cotton Lucky Peony is down here. You guys can click on these photos, read about the width, the fabric content, get closer images, of course, and shop the fabrics we're suggesting for the Liberty or the London this week. So remember that our fabric is now sold by the half yard, but it will automatically calculate how much yardage you're getting, and you can shop you can shop thread, you can shop buttons. We can still match your thread and your buttons for you. So, all right. I don't think I see anything else.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Great to have you.